Oh, hey, fun fact about me. I'm a fucking loser. But I can't let that affect my life. I need to find ways to mask that pain, cover up that insecurity, because the best way to confront a problem is the wrong way. So, being that it is a Friday night and I am currently a college student, I have a couple of options here. I've made my choice.
This is a party, and this is a college party.
I'm sold.
Parties are a staple of social gatherings. If you're looking to get together with a group of people in celebration of a certain event, or just to have a fun time, well, yeah, we'll go with this one. Parties are an opportunity to break free of the monotony of everyday life, a time to let loose, to truly let all your stress melt away, really, any excuse to drink copious amounts of alcohol. And parties can be thrown for a multitude of reasons, maybe for a birthday, or a holiday, or a work event, but out of all of the types of parties out there, none are quite as prolific as the college party. If you're in college, you've been to or at least heard of a college party going on. Hell, even if you're not in college. College parties are almost a rite of passage. If you're in college and you haven't been to a college party, what, are you gonna tell me you live a happy life? And this isn't something that's generally unknown to the masses. There are countless pieces of media and entertainment glorifying the idea of a college party as this extraordinarily wondrous experience that is truly something to be desired, and frankly, I can see why. I mean, you take a bunch of young people with raging hormones at the peak of their sexual prime with the insurmountable desire to feel relief of all the stress they're dealing with in any way possible, seemingly endless amounts of drugs and alcohol, flashing lights, music cranked up to max volume, and a house big enough to hold over 100 people, and you have a recipe for...
Did I miss something?
Yeah, college parties are infamous for getting pretty wild. I would know, I've been to 2. This is me about to go to my first college party in 2022. Look at me, I was just a kid. Now, it was a Halloween party, and I was dressed as Ross from the TV show Friends. I don't think the costume translated as well as I had hoped. But it didn't matter. I was ready to have the time of my life that night, damn it, and I was gonna stop at nothing to make sure it happened.
I should have stopped sooner.
After experiencing my first college party that night, I think it's safe to say I've had my fill. So, let's discuss. The party was held at the house of one of my friend's classmates, and I didn't anticipate how big or small this house was going to be or how many people were going to show up, but after getting there, I can safely say the two metrics didn't complement each other. I swear, there must have been at least 40 to 50 people at this party, which may not sound like a lot, but this party was not big enough to fit that many bodies. I was constantly bumping into people and stepping on random feet, and trust me, if I wanted to get that up close and personal with people, I would have picked the second one. And listen, my body already maintains temperature well as is. I'm what's known in my town as one of those freaks that walks around during winter in shorts. But between the oversized jeans and bulky sweater I was wearing that night, I was practically dripping in sweat, which gave my costume just a great personality. The music was way too loud, as I would have expected, but they didn't even play any good songs in my opinion. The music I remember them playing carried the vibe of a high school homecoming dance, and it was just as triggering as you would think. And my god, this place reeked of marijuana, which is not a smell I'm very fond of. I know, could you believe it? Okay, if it wasn't already obvious enough, I wasn't a fan of the experience I had that night. It wasn't the worst night of my life, but that's probably just because I haven't experienced it yet. Now, to be fair, some could argue it was a result of the quality of the party I went to, but more could argue it was the quality of the migraine I had. So, you may be wondering, would I ever willingly go to another party? Well, after pondering that myself for a while, I came to a realization.
Oh my god. I don't hate myself.
Yeah, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that parties aren't really my thing, so I haven't been to many since that first one. But that doesn't mean I'm not aware of the college party culture. It's hard not to be. But I'm just not someone who enjoys that type of environment. I like hanging out with people and going out, but I find doing so in a college party setting to be a grueling experience. Now, you may be saying, Antonio, how can you judge how parties are from one measly experience? You should go to more.
I got shot in the foot. It didn't feel too great, but maybe getting shot in the other foot will feel better.
Don't get me wrong, I realize not all parties are created equal. There's a pretty good chance I showed up at one of the stinkers that night. But man, I just don't have it in me to find out if that's true or not. I know how these parties usually are. And more than that, I know my own goddamn preferences for social events. 3 to 5 people, a bag of corn chips, spicy cheese dip, Nintendo Switch, board games. and an eviction notice.
Still better than the Halloween party.
I don't know, man. I will say this. At least I was there with friends. I think having to endure that party by myself, I would have fucking lost it. Or worse, I would have left early. So having friends there with me definitely helped me tolerate it more, but only barely. And I don't mean to oversell my trauma from that night, but looking back, in terms of times that I've hung out with my friends, this ended up being one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And then I went to another one 2 months later.
Maybe I hate myself just a little bit.
Yeah, earlier I said I would never willingly go to another party, as in decide to go to one entirely on my own merit. But this one was different, okay? I was peer pressured. The voices in my head told me to go.
That wasn't even the worst thing they told me to do.
Picture this. It was the end of finals week, and a common practice amongst college students at the end of the term is to go. So, one of my friend's friends decided to throw a small house party to commemorate our accomplishments that term. I was mainly convinced by my friends to go, but hey, I was open to the idea of at least stopping by for a bit. So it wasn't like this was a completely involuntary decision. But after an entire 3 months of biting my nails as to whether or not I was going to pass my classes that term, I was ready for a night of leisure, relaxation, and laid back fun. And what I got, well, it wasn't an eviction notice, that's for fucking sure. Okay, I will admit, this party was more tolerable than the other one. The amount of people there was a lot smaller, I was way more comfortable with the temperature that night, and I wasn't dressed like David Schwimmer.
That of course would improve the quality of any party.
And hey, the company at this party was a lot more familiar than the other one. I actually knew a solid amount of people there, which made it way more enjoyable. The music was better, the house was smaller, it all added up to a party experience that was nearly tailor-made for me to stick through it. So, do you think I did?
Well, I could have, but I was more interested in ruining my credibility that night. I went home and played Mario Party.
Listen, man, I appreciated this party, but at the end of the day, I just wasn't into it enough to justify staying for longer than, like, 15 minutes. And it's nothing against the host of the party at all. Man, I just wanted a relaxing time that night, and this event was not exactly a day spa. I just think that when all is said and done, I'm not a party guy.
But you may be wondering, Antonio, why are you so fucking lame? Well, allow me to introduce...
Thing Antonio doesn't like about parties #1. Yup. Alcohol is a requirement for a good college party, much like how the letter P is a requirement for the word party. And hey, I can't blame people in college for wanting to drink now that they can legally do so. It's not like any of my peers ever drank underage.
Right?
But if you frequented a White Claw here or there in your day, you know what it does to you. But hey, if you can't beat them, join them, the murder victim says. If you're gonna be around an extensive amount of people shoving bottles of poison in their faces, you might as well make the best of the experience and do it yourself. Yeah, I discovered pretty early on that I have a fairly low tolerance when it comes to alcohol. It's not that I don't like it, it's just my body doesn't like it. I've frequented many an alcoholic beverage here or there in my day, but no matter what I seem to drink or how much of it I do, I always seem to have the same reaction.
You know what? That's actually pretty good.
Okay, in reality, all that happens when I drink too much is my face gets really hot and I get fairly bad migraines. Pretty sure I just have a larger than average intolerance to alcohol baked into my genetics. But this has caused me to stay away from drinking during most social events, and if I do get in close proximity, drinking is not for me. And it's a shame because this is expected to be the primary medium over which people my age are supposed to interact with each other. Which brings us to thing Antonio doesn't like about parties, #2. People are scary. One of the main draws to going to a party is the amount of new people you get to meet. Considering these can have such a huge turnout and include a bunch of people around your age group, many of which you're more than likely to have never seen or talked to before, college parties serve the great purpose of allowing you to break through the confines of your normal everyday life bubble. Now, considering
He's a bitch!
I have a pretty hard time talking to new people. It's not that I don't like socializing, I just find a lot more comfort in talking to people I'm familiar with, and if I'm gonna mingle with people I'm unfamiliar with, I prefer it to be in a more contained setting. It's not a secret that I get a little anxious in social settings, and while most people are able to mask this within themselves through downing a couple dozen Modelo's, as we just discussed, this isn't really an option for me. It doesn't help that, from what I can tell, people that like to go to parties tend to be a little more eccentric and, frankly, can sometimes either be batshit crazy or batshit annoying. Whatever it may be, it involves batshit. Whether that's due to being under the influence or just a general disdain for human tranquility is a question I can't answer.
I'm not against people that like to go to parties. I'm just scared shitless of them.
Now, you may call me an antisocial bitch, The sentence is over. And man, I wish I didn't have this problem, because oftentimes I fear it can easily be interpreted that I'm just not a nice guy, but that's not the case. I just don't prefer meeting people over drinking games. I'm sorry! And that's not to mention the fact that I suck at beer pong.
Oh, I thought we were playing Farkle.
But hey, being that I'm so against the traditional college party, I might as well look for an alternative place to go to for my regularly scheduled peer socialization. Let's pull a card at random. Damn it. This is a bar, and here's a bear just to prove that I didn't spell it wrong. Bars are the quintessential place for people that want to party but don't have a party to go to, which makes them the perfect setting for not this. Listen, I've been to my fair share of bars before, and yeah, they can be a fun place to mingle with friends, much like how serial killers can make good arguments. But more often than not, they're just another excuse to get wasted on a weekend, which is why people in their early 20s flock to them like flies to honey. And college bars are just that. Bars meant for college students, which means they essentially carry the same air as a college party. Which leads me to thing Antonio doesn't like about parties, number 3. F these things. I don't like going to bars, considering I already have a low alcohol tolerance and get anxious talking to new people, especially in a setting where everyone else is drinking. No thanks. Most of the time when I go to a bar with friends, I'm just in it for the food, man. They are not my preferred setting for hanging out, not by a long shot. Bars just kinda stink. Literally sometimes. Now, overall, this might seem like a redundant inclusion amidst my protracted college party bitching session. Let's refresh ourselves on the list so far.
Why won't you take it?
But honestly, this pretty much all sums it up. I don't like college parties. They just don't have the type of vibe I enjoy for a social setting. And college bars are merely just vessels for college parties. They carry a lot of the energy that college parties have that I'm not fond of in places that I can't as easily avoid, especially if I want to maintain a reputation with my peers. But there's a reason why so many people like college parties, or just going out to party in general. There's a lot of fun to be had. You're in your 20s. You should enjoy this period of your life. You'll be up shit's creek with crippling debt before you know it. Regardless of my personal feelings about them, parties are a staple of the college experience. It's hard to deny that.